Okay. This is hello YouTubers, those who are watching the YouTubes. I just wanted to check in and show you what I have been working on for my new day journal. And you can see here, I've got some post-its posted on here showing what I need to do with the rest of this, which I'll talk about in a minute. But this is the journal that I came up with. And you can see I did an unsupported coptic bind stitch on this. My challenge to myself was I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money. I have, sorry for the hands, I'm kind of gross right now. I have training and education via art school in bookbinding techniques. And this is not in any way, shape, or form archival. I didn't do it in the more the exactly proper ways that I was shown. This is for my own use. I would not make a book like this and sell it to someone else because this is just for me. And you can tell right off that there's some problems because I did not use linen thread. Again, I was challenging myself. I didn't want to spend any money on this, so I was using what I just had on hand. And what I had on hand that would work for this size was some DMC pearl cotton in a 5-weight. Which is a little thicker. The problem with using pearl cotton is that it's not very strong. It's the mercerization process makes it very soft and shiny, and makes it excellent for doing embroidery and needlework kinds of stuff, which I do use it for. I've never been quite partial to variegated strands like this for my own embroidery work, so this was just hanging around. It was gifted to me by someone, and I hadn't used it yet. I think this was 25 meters. I used a curved needle because that's the easiest way for me to do a coptic stitch. I'm also a person who, because I'm using a fiber, my stitching this, it's not going to be very strong. I added in a lot of stations for sewing. I have never been one of those people who will do like 2 stations, 2 stations, 2 stations, or like 1, 2, 3. No way. I am a maximalist girly when it comes to this. So that takes care of what I used to stitch it with. I didn't have any beeswax either to even add that on the top. And I didn't want to really pull on the mercerized cotton so much because it's going to start kind of pulling out of shape. So that's another, that's something else entirely. I have not done a coptic stitch in probably over 10 years. I did need to look it up because my mind was blanking on how to get the second cover on, because you start with one cover and then you add a signature and a signature and a signature and a signature. And once I looked that up, I realized again, I don't do things the way everyone else does, because my stitches here, attaching them, they look pretty uniform, but they're not exactly the right way to do it. I used the book board I had on hand. I had some gray board on hand, and I have a lot of brown paper bags. So I did a thing that I do with a lot of my pieces, and I did some freeform origami folds on here just to give it a little bit more visual interest, so it's just not a plain bag. I use the outsides or the insides of the bags, not the outsides. The end papers here on the inside are the same. I used my watered down tacky glue to adhere these, because these on the inside, because it grabs hold really quickly and doesn't move. For the outside, I use regular tacky glue. I do at times when I am When I'm working with corrugated cardboard and making the kind of the plyboard stuff where I'm gluing several pieces of corrugated cardboard together for my other pieces, I usually use this super glue wood glue because it dries like a rock and it grabs on really quickly. And I also use Gorilla Glue sometimes for that, but mostly I use, especially for paper, when I'm making covering pieces, larger pieces, I'll use that. The inside, if I got this the right way up, no I don't. You can see here on the inside, I've started putting in some of the pieces that I usually use. Now, you may be wondering, why are you making your own and not buying one? I have in the past bought some. There's the jet pens. It's not Hobonichi. It's a Midori paper. I like that journal a lot, but I kind of, how do I put it? I organize myself in such a way that it makes sense to me. I have color coding systems that I have used for ages. Anything that's in this shade of blue and anything contained in here is going to be computer work. Now, when I say computer work, I mean I'm no longer on Instagram or Twitter or any of that stuff. So my computer stuff right now is YouTube, Patreon, and my website, which I still need to. So many things I need to do. Those things are here. Like if I added something to the website, if I made a post on the website, if I post to my Patreon. Patreon's usually every day, several times a week. YouTube for right now is going to be at least once a week, because I feel as though with all of the things that are going on, I can hit once a week. Green is actual physiological work that I'm doing. So if this were in my journal and I was making a book, I would write down exactly what I did that day. Part of that is so that I am staying on task, because then I can flip ahead and write down, I need to be working on these things on this day because this needs to go to the printer, or this needs to be finished, the glue's got to cure, that kind of stuff. Anything that's in purple for me is an appointment. I have a haircut. I have an appointment with the doctor. I have to run a specific errand to go and do something. That sort of thing goes down here. Now, the big change in my layout is that I've now got 2 pages. And the reason for that is because on my bingo card, I'm looking at my bingo card right now, my husband and I don't do New Year's resolutions, but we decided this year we were going to do a bingo card that are things that we would like to accomplish, positive things. Some of them are kind of silly for me, like I put on here, I wanted to eat a real crab cake, which means we're probably going to make it. That's going to be in conjunction with a trip, a little short day trip kind of thing. That now that we're living closer to the ocean, I want to go and dip my toes in the ocean, that sort of thing. Things that are going to be beneficial, things that we want to be working towards. Not like starting January 1st, I'm going to do this. Starting January 1st, I'm going to do this. No. We're more of a slow and steady wins the race sort of thing. Changing habits, that sort of thing. We've spent the last 2 years in changing habits of ours, and we know that just works way better for us. And one of the things that I want to do is I want to start writing more. And when I say writing, I mean in a journal, self-reflective, meta thinking, kind of way. And I haven't told myself specifically how much I have to write. I'm starting out with a paragraph. So this page right here is also January, this is January 18th, is going to be for that. And it's also going to be for things like not having to write on Post-it notes. And I know this sounds like kind of a weird thing to say. I use Post-it notes a lot, and I'm not saying I'm going to stop using them, but in my journals, my other journals, this is my previous journal, and I really like this type of book. I like how I did the covers. Everything in here I really, really like. What all was that? What is all this? Oh, this is a bunch of, yeah. This is a bunch of other stuff. I like this sort of bind, but I'm kind of not excited about it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. So I decided to change things around. And I didn't give myself in any of these, I didn't give myself enough space to have, everything was just contained to one page. Let me see if I can find a page here. I did have a page selected, but I decided, here we go. This is how most of it runs. And you can see I use coordinating things. I also started writing down weather, if the weather's doing anything. And then I have little tab pages. I need to add the tab pages in here. So that's kind of how it works. And I'm not being archival. This is a working piece. It's a tool where I'm keeping stuff. Now, in other things that I want to be keeping, there are other things that I'm doing that I need to keep track of. And those things are also going to go in here. Now, if it turns out I need more than one page, I'm just going to tape a page in here. Again, it doesn't need to be archival. This is just this graph paper. I like having graph paper for my journals, so that's the reason that I kept the graph paper. This is from the dollar store, totally inexpensive paper. So when it comes to these dates up here, I've had to change things around. My Trodat stamp is like locked up and I can't get it to function properly. It's one of those self-inker numbers, and I'm really cheesed off about that. I don't like that. I don't like it just being a lump of plastic now. So that meant I was going to have to figure out something else. So I did end up spending a little under $10. I got some stamps because I know I can use these again and again and again and again and again. And then got the small, like, clear blocks, so it's easier to print these. What I did, incidentally, was I didn't put them on this side. I put them on this side and stamped them like this, because I was only doing one line. And because they didn't have, I'll show this up a little closer, because they didn't have 2026 in it, and there wasn't enough that I could make 2026 out of the numbers, I just went ahead and used the 20 and the 26th from the date, from the month, the calendar, and put that on there. And then, of course, there's the day. I still need to add a couple of things. I need to add the pages, my tabs. I need to finish this purple line. I use Stabilos. I like this brand. I like this color, and I like just being able to get one color. So it's usually jet pens that I go to, because I also have some pens that I like using. My personal favorite are the Zebra Sarasa. I've got that on there in the small, the 0.5. I do also like the 0.7. That's usually the green that I write here, and I need to order some more pens because I'm almost finished with another pen. My personal favorite color for writing is this this dark blue black, which I think is very pretty. And I like that I think they're like, these and the other one that's a dry something or other. It's called dry something. I can't remember what it is. Jet pens, they're like $1.95, so it's not super expensive, and I can get like the specific shade of green I like, which I know in the large scheme of things is like big deal, big whoop. Why do you have to have that pen? It makes me happy. So I write in blue here, but more of kind of a cerulean, the green here and purple here. And I think I'm probably going to write with the blue black over here for some things. Anyway, that's how this is all set up. I still need to kind of finish the purple lines, and then I also need to figure out if I'm going to use colors over here. I have a couple. Let's see. I should have pulled those out before. Reach it over here. I have a couple of colors that I don't use an awful lot, and I may be using, I think this one is going to be used, but I'm not sure for what thing I'm going to assign the color to. And if you know me, once these get used up, they get pulled apart and they go into my recycling stash, and I use everything. I think these could make like really cute little flower pots. So I've got, this is part of me as the art teacher. If you've listened to me long enough, I have things called crap bags. I started doing that when I was an art teacher in elementary school, and I did it because kids would be constantly, like, the pen caps would be missing. I frankly don't care if it's a red marker with a green cap on it. I just don't want the marker to dry out. So the kids always knew that they could go to the bag that was sitting by the door if they couldn't find the correct, cap. They could do that. Same thing with glue sticks and other items that I had. So I need to finish this part up. And doing the Coptic stitch for me was interesting. I've done them a lot before. Where did all this hair come from? I'm gonna put some links down in my doobly-doo for jet pens and for some other places that I purchase things, and also for 4 Keys Bookbindery. 4 Keys Bindery, I think it's called. There's a lovely man. He's from Canada. His name is Dennis, although in my head I call him Denis. And this right here is his directions for making a book cradle, so that I can get my sewing stations lined up in here. Although this is going the opposite direction. This needs to go this way. So I have another one over here because this one that I finished is only 6 months. So this is the next 6 months. And like, this is July. I've written it in here. And when I'm putting the holes in, I just do this. Everything is, let me see, lined up at the top. And then I use my awl and I make the holes. And it's a really, if it's something that you would like to do, I really highly recommend going over and taking a look at his channel for this. His instructions are really clear. He has a lovely voice. I really enjoy watching him, and I always learn something new. So I'll put that link in there. I've used this a lot. And I used gray board, which probably isn't the best thing to use for this. But yeah, and I can hear some people now saying, well, why don't you go ahead and do a tutorial on a Coptic stitch? And it's like, when I was looking up how to get, this last signature on here with the cover, which is always a bit of a hump. I always forget how getting the cover on, it's you put the first station, or the first group of folio of pages, and then it takes you until about here, until things start kind of evening out and it's not like flopping all over the place. It's the same here. But I was looking around and there are dozens, yay, probably hundreds of tutorials that you can watch about the Coptic stitch. I will, however, link to, because this is how old I am. The internet didn't exist when I was in art school. And I learned through a book. It was unsupported, what is it, glueless? I can see the cover of the book. And once I read the name, I'll know what it is. I'll link to that as well, so you can take a look at that. His books are like the Bible for anybody who is doing this kind of bookbinding. When what it means is unsupported means you are not sewing it together and using tapes and linen thread and then putting a hardcover on it. Hold on, let me grab a book. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, this book right here. You can see that this book has this type of binding. It has the cover on the spine, and you can see the individual signatures. This one isn't sewn together. You can see that little line there. It's all glued in. But this is how a book goes together. And when you open a book, wow, this one doesn't flex very much. You can see where that glue is, that kind of brownish line right there, and the little ribbon bits there. This is the kind of bookbinding that has a lot more support in it. This does not, because when I open this up, let me open it up to a folio, you can see how things move back and forth a little bit. This moves a lot. If I'd used linen thread, it wouldn't have moved so much, and probably not as much if I'd used a much better paper. Because like I said, this is just cheap paper from the dollar store. But I'm an artist, and I'm poor, so I rose to my own challenge, and I made a tool that I can now use, which I'm quite happy with. But if you have any questions about things, I can happily answer questions. But as yet, I'm not going to do a tutorial or anything. You guys don't really need to see that. But if you have any questions about materials or methods, if I can point you in the right direction, I'll do that. So thank you, YouTubers, for sticking around with me and watching my videos. And I'll see you in the next video.